Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'd like to welcome back Steven. He has finally concluded his 2023 race season. So everybody say, good job, Steven. Good job. Round of applause. I think one of the things that we wanted to review today were kind of all of your lap times. So thanks for emailing them to me. I'll go ahead and go over that, go over kind of the events that you ran. Big shout out to Falken Tires for believing in us, the both of us, and supporting Steven through his journey this year, tracking and competing with his Model 3. Just to remind you guys, he did run on the Falken RT660 tires. We played, I think, in the beginning of the season. You know, we had Falken send us a few different size tires, and we weren't sure exactly what size you ultimately wanted to be on. So what we did initially was we mounted up a set of 305 3019s on some Aspira AF10 forged 1910.5s. He ran that, I think, at the first Tornado event. Mm-hmm. Is that the only tire size you ran at that event? I believe so, right?
Yes.
And then we had actually seen some guys at, or I had noticed some guys at Tesla Corsa that were running shorter tire diameters kind of by mistake. I don't think they did it intentionally. They're running shorter tire sizes and pulling some pretty fast times on the CW13 configuration at Button Willow. So we had Falken send us some 275 35 series 18-inch tires. Steven has always ran a set of 1810.5, so he owns a set of 1810.5 Aspira AF10s. We lent him a set of 1910.5 to test out the 305s. But we had a feeling that, maybe we can run this shorter tire. Unfortunately, Falken didn't produce our ideal tire size. What is your ideal tire size that you'd like to have run or you were running before?
A 275/40 18 would be ideal.
Ideal. So I think that's a little bit, maybe just a smidge taller than the factory tire diameter.
Right, it's just a little bit taller, but it's as close as you can get in that width.
Right, to get as wide as you can and as close as you can in diameter to the factory. Yeah. So what we ended up having to do was run a 275/35 18, which was shorter, and you kind of had some, it sounded like it worked for you in some situations, but in others you ran into some situations, some problems.
Yeah, so I believe the first event we ran it on was
SCCA.
Yeah, the SCCA.
Kicked butt. Beep.
And that wasn't very long after the first event we did at Thunderhill West with the 305. So it was a drastic difference in time on track. Like, I believe our best there was like a 1:22.9 on the 305.
Yeah, I got it right here. So you did, on March 25th at turn 8, round 1, you ran a 1:22.9 on the 305s. Right. And then on April 15th, so like 3 weeks later, at SCCA time trials, where you took first place.
Yep.
You ran a 120.7.
Yeah, huge
difference. And going from a 305 to a 275.
Yeah.
So you actually went from a tire that was wider and in the perfect tire diameter. Actually, 305 3019 virtually matches, I think, our factory 235 4019 to 235 35 20 diameter. And then you dropped all the way to a 275 35 18 for SCCA.
Yeah, and on that track, Thunderhill West, real short. It caters to a car that can accelerate really quickly out of the corners. So the shorter tire, theoretically, helps with that as well with the gear ratio. So, it seemed to work well.
It seemed to work really well. Interestingly enough, and since we're talking about it, I'll talk about his other times. He only has one other Thunderhill West time, and I guess that was done recently, just October 28th. At that time, you ran a 1:21.485. So you started out, turn 8, Thunderhill, first event of the season, 1:22.9 on 305s. Then did SCCA time trials shortly after that, so the climate was similar. 1:20.7, massive drop. And then just recently in October, temperatures have dropped, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I believe traffic was a consideration too. The problem with these short tracks and time attack sessions is the track can get a lot of traffic really quickly. Like, it doesn't, one lap and you could be running into somebody at the end. So
gotcha.
I believe that was really my only clean lap of the day.
Oh, that sucks.
So
Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah, that's the struggle of time attack.
Yeah.
Getting clean laps is part of the luck. So
Well, until we can just like rent out our own track
exactly.
and just have you on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you did a 121, 485. I think after that, I guess in June you ran another Turn 8 event at Button Willow.
Right.
Where you also took second place. You ran a 154, and we'll share all his times. We'll do like a screenshot or just share all of his times like it was on the calendar, just on the screen somewhere over here. So yeah, Button Willow CW13, you ran a 154.93.
Yep. And that was only, I think 0.4 of a second off my best lap ever there. So that was pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. Okay, so you've run a 154.5 or something like that before, okay.
Which was quite a long time ago and may not be achievable again with my current car.
He needs a car, you guys. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. My car just continues to get slower, and the 54.5 that I ran was when the car was quite a bit faster than it is now. So it might not be achievable anymore.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Seriously. Still waiting on the Highland. I hear there's spottings of it now in the Bay Area. We just got news that somebody spotted one around the Bay. They're driving around now. And then I guess in September, so there was March, April, June. Then we get down to September, which is Model 3 Challenge.
Yep.
Your first event with Model 3 Challenge, their second event was at Streets of Willow in Southern California.
Yeah, that was my first time there, and that was interesting.
And you took first place.
First place at that event.
And you ran a 122.72.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that was September 30th. And after that was...
And something to mention with the Model 3 Challenge is that is not a full power run either. That is a 122.7 with the car limited to 220 kilowatts. So
good point. Yep. As you have seen in one of our prior videos, maybe we'll share a link to that video. He did have the Mount Pass cooling party box, which serves the purpose of being able to limit the actual power
limit the power level for the specific event of Model 3 Challenge.
Right. And the purpose of that is to allow you to run multiple laps without degradation.
Yeah, we could run 9 laps at a 123 pace. Like, that was nice to be able to do.
That's awesome. You did have another event that's actually not listed here. That was a Laguna Seca event. We can share that. You guys can reference that video too. I actually don't have the times here, but you've also got October 28th was your next time back to Thunder Hill West. So that was a Turn 8 Round 3 event.
Right.
That's where you ran the 121.485.
Yep.
You took first place at that event.
Yeah, that was the one time I got first place in the Turn 8 Challenge. Yeah.
Yep. Was there a reason for that? Were you just exceptional that day, or was our friend less than exceptional?
He
was there, right?
Yeah. It just happened that way this time. Yeah.
You did it. Yeah. But let's see. We've got then December 8th, just recently, Turn 8 Round 4, the final event of Turn 8.
Mm-hmm.
That was Thunder Hill East, which you hardly ever run that configuration, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a track I really enjoy in the Tesla because of how long it is.
Do you recall what the length of that track is?
It is a little bit longer than Button Willow. I believe it's 3 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, and so being a sub 2 minute lap is really fast there.
And you ran a 158, 198.
Yeah, and then it's pretty difficult on the Tesla because of the power draw at that track is pretty substantial. You really only have one chance to get a lap like that in. By the middle of the second lap, the battery is about overheated.
I remember that.
So during that challenge, it's me and one other guy running Teslas. We really have 3 chances to get our lap. It's the first lap of each session, and that's all we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that happened to me at Laguna, and I'm not even a fast guy.
I know.
Make some babies. and see if you have time.
Okay, okay.
I mean, so that kind of goes over, you know, your whole season right there. All of what we had mentioned, he was running the Falken tires. I think he had dabbled here and there in some HPDEs, maybe thrown some older tires that he may have had. But all in all, you know, you did really well on the Falkens, it seems like.
Yep.
I think that Thunderhill East event, you had mentioned to me that that's where you felt the shorter tire diameter because of the length of the track. Also, you had two issues with it. One was
so the length of the track, you know, the bigger tire gets the car up to a higher top speed. It's a few miles an hour, and that makes a big difference at a long track, especially one like East where, you know, it's very momentum based. There's not a lot of corners that we slow down to like under 40 miles an hour. Where West, we slow down under 30 miles an hour in a couple of corners, where that short tire really helps get out of the corner.
Yep, coming out, yeah.
Yeah, East doesn't have anything like that really.
And
the other thing that matters a lot on the short tire diameter is the suspension ground clearance.
The chassis, chassis.
I'm not going through the effort of changing my ride height for these specific tires, so, you know, the car is sitting quite a bit lower than what it would be with the correct diameter.
Yeah,
and that's an issue at East because there's
some big
one
curves.
Particular hill that coming over the top of it, it will slam down pretty hard if you're not careful. So I have to be conscious of my ground clearance.
Is it kind of like Phil Hill type of thing at Button Willow, or it's not that
no,
kind of a?
It's a much. It's got basically a big bump in it right at the top.
Oh, I see.
It's more like coming down the corkscrew at Button Willow or at
Gotcha.
Laguna Seca.
That Laguna, yeah. And I think you just measured it on the rack. By the way, this is Steven's car here. We're going to list out for you guys the mods that he has on his car. We'll kind of briefly touch upon the main things he has. So if you guys do want to get the Steven Case track pack along with the Aspira forged wheels, we're going to consolidate all of his stuff together into a single link purchase, and we'll give you some options for brake pads or some other items. But all in all, the major stuff, all the Mountain Pass stuff, the Aspira stuff, we'll put all together into a single purchasing link for you guys. And I don't know, we'll come up with a creative name, Case in Point or something. I don't know, the Case pack.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, you just measured the car on the rack before we started filming, and I think you said you're about 10 mils lower with this tire diameter than you would be with, like, say, your factory tires or something.
It's sitting pretty low.
Now, to give the people some context, your lap times as a Model 3 Performance with, you know, your battery's degraded, and how much power do you think you've lost since new? I know you've data logged and charted things.
So I guess the easiest way to explain the power loss would be straightaway speed. At the end of straightaway speeds, like on Button Willow, where normally the car should be hitting 125, 126 miles an hour, you know, we're barely hitting 121. So, you know,
wow, 5 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And that's from like when we were running.
And the longer you're sitting at that high speed, the worse it is on the lap time.
And that's when we were running Tesla Corsa back like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Compared
and those
to
are
now.
the easiest ways to measure the difference, especially since, you know, the more I'm at these tracks, the better I get at corner exits. So I should theoretically be going faster on these
but you're not
straightaways, but I'm not hitting those high speeds anymore.
And then I think before we started talking, I had asked you if you had a fresh car with your familiarity with these tracks now. I mean, what do you think that top speed could potentially be, considering
I don't even know, because the car was never new. So I don't know what a brand new car can do top speed wise at these tracks.
Have you looked at any other people's data? Is anybody else nearly as fast?
No one is. I don't know what their corner exits are like, so I don't know, you know, are they reaching the top speed?
Potential top speed that they could be, yes.
Because there's the corner exit and then there's the braking zone entering the next corner as well. Like, how late are they going before they hit the brakes?
Got it,
That's a big difference in drivers.
And BK's car, do you know if he's able to hit higher tops? I mean, he's
we're
running
pretty similar. I think both of our cars are probably pretty similar
Both
on the battery age scale, or at least degradation. Because we do compare, and they're pretty similar.
I guess that's kind of one of the drawbacks to
Yeah.
over time. I mean, it's just like having a tired engine or something like that.
Exactly. It's like having a tired motor.
Yeah.
Maybe lower compression.
Exactly. Yep.
But our motors are still good. We don't have to worry about the engine blowing or anything like that. It's just gradually going to get slower.
I think that's the next thing I want to talk about is your overall thoughts of, well, for one, I want to give some context that in terms of what kind of times this car is running again, or what other vehicles, respected ICE cars, this thing is on pace with, so that people can understand the amount of utility you can have out of this car and how fast it can actually be without really having a crazy amount of mods.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best comparisons I have is, comparing it to a well built up track BMW M3, like an E92 platform, even a nice E46 platform. It's heavily dependent on tire, but if they're running similar tires, they're pretty comparable as far as lap times.
With the same driver,
right?
Same level of competency of driver, because that's the biggest variable of them all.
And one of the things that's difficult in the Tesla is getting everything out of it that is there is a little bit of a challenge, because typically you don't have a lot of time to get to that perfect lap down. That's one of the things you have to deal with.
Unless you reach out to Mountain Pass Performance, we're going to do a plug for them.
Yeah.
Reach out to those guys, because if you are interested in honing your skill at the track in a Model 3 or Model Y, hit those guys up. See if you can purchase a cooling party box controller from them, so that you can do power limit on your Model 3 or Y, and that way you can run multiple laps and really, I think, get the most out of your track days and
I mean, we're still doing very fast times even at a lower power limit. Like Laguna Seca, we were doing 141s. Streets of Willow, we were doing 122s. Buttonwillow, you can do a sub 2 minute, even low power mode, which is still really fast. And you can do it consistently for, Buttonwillow, you should be able to do 6, 7, 8 laps, depending on.
Amazing. If you can do 6, 7, sub 2 laps.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
You have to be more careful about choosing your tire at that point. You can't choose like a Super 200 and expect to be able to do 8 laps in a row at.
That's right. The tire's going to fall off.
Yeah.
You'll still get your sticker from the Sub 2 Club, so shout out to Sub 2 Club also. Get it. They should put a little asterisk on their Sub 2 Club, power limited Sub 2 Club. I mean, the guys in Tesla's doing it with like, what is it, 350 horsepower or something? You'd almost drop 200 horsepower.
It's 300 horsepower.
Oh, it's 300?
Yeah.
And if we had full power, it's like 500 something, right?
Yeah, and you can't just say that it's 500 horsepower.
I mean, that's peak.
Yeah, when you're comparing a Tesla or any EV to a gas vehicle, it's kind of the torque curve is opposite.
Right.
Where a ICE vehicle, as the RPM goes up, your power goes up. But on the Tesla,
it's like this.
Well, as the RPM goes up on the Tesla, your peak power down low, and it starts going off as your speed increases.
Yeah.
So when you look at, I have compared lap times between a well-driven BMW M3, and you can see that the Tesla gains a lot at the beginning, or the exit of the corner, but by the end of the straights, they're pretty even, because the top speed of the BMW has caught up at that point. So they're really similar. And the suspension on the Tesla is something that's probably glossed over a lot. The geometry is very good. I think a lot of people are impressed when I take them for rides how well this car handles on the track, and the way the way it soaks up bumps, and
I mean, big shout out to Mountain Pass Performance also, because we've seen other coilovers on this car that don't do that.
Yes.
So that's
the
huge.
The low center of gravity of the Tesla helps a lot.
Yeah. That's hands down. That just reminded me. Did you saw that video? Donut Media shared. They took a clip from the video we shot together for track mode in your car, and
Yeah, my
your finger,
my fat finger made
your
it
fat
in there,
finger.
yeah.
You got fat finger fame now.
Yeah.
It was in there. So if you guys do see that, maybe we can share a link to that video. But it was a nice surprise to see Donut Media use a clip from one of our videos of track mode and navigating track mode. So they showed Steven's finger literally on there showing track mode, drift mode, and then there was the mine mode. Mine is Steven's mode.
Yeah.
So in that video, they compared our good friends at Evasive Motorsports wide body Model 3. So I believe it's a Artisan Spirits wide body.
Yeah, yeah.
Model 3 that drives, Degiro, drove it at Pikes Peak. And they compared it to off-the-shelf GT3 RS. Is that correct? Yep. They ran that at Streets of Willow. Mm-hmm. I don't exactly recall the times.
They ran 121s on both.
It was in the 21s. I think that the GT3 RS was in the 121 4s and the...
It was a few tenths different.
Model 3 was like the 121 7s or something like that. What were your thoughts on that video? I don't know if I didn't watch the whole video. Did they do a decent comparison of the two? I mean,
in my opinion, if they're trying to do a real comparison, no, it was not a good comparison. I mean, different tires, a driver that is not pushing the limit of the cars at all. I mean, doing a 121 in that evasive car is pretty slow, in my opinion.
I agree.
We were doing 122s in a car that was power limited and with no aero. So
no wide body,
yeah,
no aero, no slicks.
And we have a buddy that ran 121 in a stock Model 3. So that's a really good indication that it was way off the limit.
Shout out to Leifer.
Raphael, yeah.
So really, he ran that one time. I think that's when he was on. He must have been on the V730s.
He is on
endless
V730
brake pads, right?
But it's a stock suspension car.
Yeah, totally stock. Stock wheel, no. He had I think he had some 18-inch.
Yeah, it's an 18
Koenigs or something.
Yeah. But it's still a stock suspension car. Yeah. No electronic assists or anything like that. So it's pretty impressive that he did that.
Yeah. So we're waiting for him to join the challenge.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. Yeah.
I mean, we were really hoping. He is also, I think, does some instruction at Grid Life, or did instruction at Grid Life at the Laguna event.
The Toga to track thing down south. Yeah, he does that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the amazing things about this platform. To just kind of sum up all of this, we've talked about kind of some of the downsides to it, but I mean, do you think there is another vehicle that can have as much utility as this, as a daily driver and a track beast?
Well, it depends on your budget.
Okay, let's say you can pick up. We just had a client today come in for an alignment. Bought a 2019 Model 3 Performance. It had under 10,000 miles. Mm-hmm. It had FSD, it had full self-driving, and he paid I think he said around 36 grand.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's for a car that is this fast, that you can get for that amount of money now,
on the used market.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more people, drive them at the track.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope that videos like this do convince even the naysayers that, gosh, maybe I should just pick one up to pick one up. I mean,
to people that are, like myself, that are budget limited, that can really only afford to have one car. I want a car that is comfortable on the road, that it's efficient. It's not like I can own, a Prius and a track car. That would be still difficult to do. But I can have everything in one car. Like, this car is still compliant on the street, suspension-wise. It's not overly stiff like a lot of common track builds are. I just throw my aero wheels on, and it's efficient, just like it was from the factory.
Very low cost of maintenance.
Nothing in charging. I don't have to pay for E85 at the track. I don't have to pay for race fuel. Usually a track day electricity cost for me is under $100. Traveling to the track being at the track and traveling home is under $100. I don't know where you can't do that in any other track car.
Oh, dude, I bet you these guys are spending that much doing synthetic oil changes and things.
Oil
You know what I'm
changes.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Oil changes.
I mean, I've never done the oil change in the front motor of this car. It's 100,000 miles almost on this car. I did do it once in the rear, but it was probably unnecessary. Like, they're pretty bulletproof. It's just a little gearbox, and it's very simple.
The amount of stuff you can stuff in this car is
yeah, I can
bonkers.
carry
It's
all 4
bonkers.
track tires, all my tools,
Canopy,
yeah,
mattress,
person if I
another
want.
person. I mean, just nuts. I mean, granted, if you want a dedicated track car, there's definitely things out there that you
Yeah,
can
if you have the ability to have 2 cars, then a dedicated track car is always going to be better. Like, obviously.
and that's in your view, right? You're looking
Yeah,
for
I mean,
something?
that's something I want. Like, I want a car that I can really take further, that I don't have to worry about, messing up the street drivability. Like, that's kind of what I don't want to mess up the street drivability of this car, by tearing all the interior out and making the suspension rock hard.
I will say it'd be really neat to see you in a fresh car, though, because, like you said, a lot of the time you spent learning the tracks, because you hadn't road raced prior to owning this car.
No, yeah, the Tesla was my
This
first
was
track
your
car. Yeah.
introduction to that. So over the past couple of years, as you've gotten faster, the car's gotten slower. So there's this like really weird convergence that happened. And now we just don't know exactly what you could do. So you really need a new car.
Well, you can buy the car and I'll just drive it for you.
I mean, we should talk. Or just take my car, which is basically a virgin car.
That's true.
I mean, that thing's got 20,000 miles on it.
Hope you don't mind road chips.
We'll do a full PPF livery. Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't talk about his mods real quick, so we'll just do that. And I guess, I don't know, is there anything else you wanted to share?
I mean, other than the fact, just to the people out there that are looking to get into track days, like, and you still have a job to get to every day, and you can't have 2 cars, like you don't have the space for it, you're in an apartment, like the Model 3 is a great car for that. Like, it is. It can get you out to the track for not a lot of money.
I love
and be really fast. Like, it is very capable.
It's fast. I mean, we'll share his times, and you go to whatever it is, fastest track times or track records, and you just start comparing what his times are as a relatively seasoned driver now at those specific tracks to what other guys are doing we're talking about like exotics. I mean, there's cars that, you're running some really great times on a car that you can take to the grocery store, stuff a bunch of stuff in it, kids' car seats. I mean,
exactly. And not have to worry about the car breaking down on you is a big thing. Like, for me, like, if I was driving a BMW right now, I would be paranoid every day that something's going to go wrong.
Yep.
That it's going to leave me stranded. I'm not going to be able to get to work the next day. I never have to worry about that with this.
That's why I stopped driving my 834 too.
Yeah.
And a couple other European cars I have. It's just, and my RX-7.
Yeah.
It's just this car, it just works, man. And I love my Model 3. The way the car feels, the way it transitions weight. I mean, it's a truly amazing vehicle. It's a Tesla. You got to accept those things, but I've never really had a quiet car, so those things I'm kind of oblivious. I don't really care. I just want a car that feels really, really good to me. And
yeah, I think a lot of negativity you see out there too is like, even with the Donut Media video, they keep talking about the weight and how detrimental that weight is, and it may be heavy, but it does not feel heavy on the racetrack
at all.
When I take people for rides that are in dedicated track cars that are, 1,000, 1,500 pounds less, and when I stomp on the brake, they're in disbelief at how fast it can stop, even with how heavy it is, and the way it tackles corners. The way it. I've never taken someone for a ride that wasn't just blown away at how well it handles.
I think that's the biggest takeaway for you guys that we really want to highlight and bring to the forefront, especially a lot of these videos that we've shared about Steven's journey tracking the vehicle, is exactly that. That, you know, there's a lot of people that, myself included, did not want to endorse the movement or the adoption of EVs. But the first time I drove one, I was like, whoa, this car is quite amazing. If we can start working on the chassis and the suspension and make some subtle improvements, you don't even have to make dramatic improvements, but just make some subtle changes. You can literally go out, pick up some Mountain Pass Performance coilovers, any of their coilovers, comfort adjustables, comfort non-adjustables, sports, anything that they produce, it's going to transform this car. It'll probably be one of the best vehicles you've ever driven. I can say the same for other brands of coilovers too, but you know, we've really, really enjoyed, you know, the partnership we've had with Mountain Pass Performance, the engineering, and you know, big thanks to them, their support of you. I know we all just start out as clients of theirs initially, and that just grew up into a friendship. Those guys are track guys themselves, so the fact that we are doing, I think, what they ultimately would love to see their products doing.
Yeah, I mean, into that, we could talk a little bit about like what's on the car.
Let's talk about that. Why don't you go over some of those things?
I mean, it is basically a Mountain Pass Performance catalog car. Like I probably have one part on there that is not Mountain Pass, and that's the brakes and
that's only
one of the bushings.
Yeah, one of the bushings.
But everything else is, you know, all the rear arms are swapped out to billet. You know, arms with spherical bearings, an adjustable camber, and the front we have the upper control arm and all the lower bearings. So everything that can be swapped out from rubber to spherical is.
And their sphericals are not, I mean,
yeah, they're really good.
They're really, really good. They're OEM grade sphericals. They're all sealed sphericals.
Well, just recently I had a ball joint on both of my lower.
That's on the OEM LCA though.
Right. The OEM LCA ball joint had failed, and I had to pull out the Mountain Pass spherical bearing and swap it to the new arm, and they're perfectly fine, still tight, no slop. After that was the very first mod I ever did. And yeah, it's got like 70,000 miles on this bearing, and it's still good. So
it's nuts.
Props to that.
Yeah, that stuff, that's good. No clunks.
No clunks.
No clunks. I mean, that to have that out of a spherical, I personally don't know if I've experienced that, to be honest.
And they're sealed
They're sealed sphericals, yep. So yeah, real quickly, we'll tell you, he's got the Mountain Pass the Mountain Pass Performance Sports adjustable coilovers with the upgraded Super Sport springs.
Right.
In order to take advantage of that spring, he needed to upgrade his rear lower spring arm. So he's got a billet spring arm down there. He's got the front lower control arm bearing, the front upper control arm. He has all the rear arms. So camber, tow, trailing, and traction. You've got the electronics, so he's got the cooling party box controller and the party box controller.
Yes.
Both of which we've discussed in prior videos. We'll just share links to those. You guys should watch those to get a better understanding and of what those products do. The brake master cylinder brace. I think that and the front lower control arm bearing you just spoke about. Those are my first mods,
yeah.
Those should be everybody's first mod, regardless of whether or not you're tracking the car. That lower control arm bearing is going to reduce your cost of ownership in the long term. I've shared videos on it before. That front, that bushing in the front lateral link, on a dual motor car, it's going to go out, start tearing 25, 35K.
Yep.
We had a rear wheel drive car yesterday. Drove up from San Diego. He had 50,000 miles. The bushing, his compliance and his lateral link completely ripped on a rear single motor car.
Wow.
So yeah, you get that bearing. It's going to improve the steering response dramatically. And I mean, he's put 70,000 really hard miles on it.
Yeah.
I think it would outlive the ownership of most people in the car.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 40 track days and 70,000 miles on California highways. So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Last but not least, I think the only thing is, your highest cost related to this vehicle, aside from all the supercharging you may have had to do going to track days, because we have solar at home. You have an EV and you don't have solar, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Like you're just not doing it right. So you got to take advantage, get solar if you get an EV. I think the only real high cost of ownership for a track person would be tires
And brakes.
and brake pads.
Yeah.
But if you're a normal daily driver, you'll never go. These brake pads will disintegrate from not being used
Yeah.
before you'll wear them down more than likely. So you probably should put them through some heat cycles and use them every so often,
And grease, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the calipers don't get seized and stuck.
Yep.
So grease those pins and things. And tires. I mean, tires is something that you can't get away from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of it, man. I think that's it. We did it, guys. Steven did it. Big shout out, congrats to Steven for all of your successes this year.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what you got in store for next year. He's been super hush hush about it.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll see him in a new car.
That'd be nice.
That'd be really nice. But man, I can't tell you, it's just been so good to
Yep.
hang out and be trackside with you, and I hope we can continue this with you in 2024.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, we're going to put a link down in the description below with all the Steven's mods. We'll make a track pack out of that. A big shout out to Falken Tire. Thanks again for all of your support. We hope that we've done justice to your Falken RT660 tire, your Super 200 treadwear tire. And again, Mountain Pass Performance. I know Steven couldn't have done it without your guys' support as well. So big shout out to you guys. And thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.